So, my friends told me that I would fail and I wouldn't succeed. So, this is what kind of happened. I just finished my first year of med school. So, I'm here in Australia. Basically, I did 3 years of like undergrad. Like, this is where you first enter uni and you just do like a bachelor's. And then you move on to postgrad, so further studies. And that's where I am right now. And I just finished my first year of medicine. So I've done 4 years of university so far. And this year is where I decided to take a gap year, which is basically a break from university and just kind of explore other options apart from just going down the medicine path. And there's many reasons that I didn't want to continue doing med. And obviously, I can always go back at this stage. But the reason I didn't want to continue for next year is because when I was studying during the entire year, I realized I just treated med as just another obstacle I had to overcome. So if I had this test, I'll just treat it as cool, I need to get that done, and that's it. Whereas there were people that genuinely saw work as their life. Like they saw medicine as their life. And so they would be like at the hospitals all day. They'll be like researching medicine stuff in their spare time. And they were genuinely just immersed in the entire field because they were passionate about it. And it wasn't that I wasn't passionate about it. It was that I liked the idea of, helping other people. But I just never had like a very strong motivation to like kind of like put my all into it because I was doing so many things on the side. I was working on like I was working at this like business, this startup for this like edutech company, and there was just many like different priorities where med just became another like routine thing I had to do on the list. And so another like key moment which kind of encapsulates all of this is I remember right after our exams finished, I was like, cool, I'm done. I get to relax. But my friends who were like really passionate about med, they were like, cool, time to get started on next year. So imagine studying for like, a few months for an exam, very big exam, end of year, just to get it done. And then as soon as it's done, no break. Cool. All right, let's start studying for next year's exam. And I know some people say it's a joke, but they were literally met up the next day to go through the notes and flashcards to prepare themselves for next year's content and exams. And look, I respect them for that because they were genuinely passionate about medicine and they wanted to get the most out of it. And so they were studying ahead. And for them, it's not studying, it's just part of their life, their routine. And so that's like what made me realize that maybe this isn't the path set out for me. Not until I explore other options first, until I have like the same feeling of treating work as play. When you don't need work life balance because work becomes the same as life. Like that would be my dream outcome. And following this, like I had this realization, and that's like what drove me to like take the gap year and everything. And I thought, cool, all right, that's cool and all. I'm taking the gap year and just like leaving med for a year. And then like after I took the gap year, word kind of got around just like within our like friendship group and everything. Just because like taking gap year is like relatively like big thing because you're kind of like not going to school for a year and everyone else is like moving ahead. So like a lot of people went up to like me obviously to ask me how it was, everything like basic questions, but they also went to my girlfriend and asked her, how do you feel about Julian's gap year? So how did she feel about me taking gap year? And like my girlfriend, she responded, cool, yeah, I feel good about it. And basically, like I only heard this from her. Basically, all of the friends said, look, he's still young, he could afford to fail. Or another thing they said was, well, at least one of you in the future will have a stable career as a doctor. And the reason they said that was because they clearly like thought the path I was going down was not very like stable, like it wasn't very reputable, like working for like a startup, doing like education YouTube stuff. And yeah, it really hit deep. And I would say the good news is that a lot of these friends, they weren't people I like was that close with. They were like kind of friends with my like girlfriend. But for me, like I probably recognized them, but I didn't like fully understand them. the close friends I had like understood, and they didn't say any of that stuff, which was very like, you know, reassuring, because otherwise it would have meant that like the way I was kind of like, you know, making friends would have been very off. So obviously, you know, you want friends that support you. So if I couldn't identify that in someone through like all our daily conversations, then that would be a massive error on my end. The fact that I couldn't like distinguish whether someone's a true friend or not. But good thing that it's not like, you know, very like, it wasn't like very close friends saying that. It was just kind of like people I recognized. And so it really did make me think. Like my initial reaction was like, you know, I'm going to prove them wrong, um, things like that. But I realized that that's probably not the constructive way to go about it. So what I did was like, first I just really analyzed what they said. Like they said there was no future with like social media, with YouTube, with I Can Study, which is the startup I'm working at. There's no future with, you know, starting a personal brand, selling products. And that wasn't even like what I was going down. Like that wasn't even the goal, but they kind of just lumped that in together. So that's kind of like, you know, the sad thing about it, that like they didn't like understand the path like I was looking at to that detail. But look, I don't blame them. But the main takeaway I got from this was not so much like, cool, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to like, you know, use all this, use this as motivation, motivation to prove you wrong, because it's not a very constructive attitude. And I realized what's more powerful instead is to take a very cerebral approach on it and actually think like, what if they're right? Because for the longest time I was like very insecure, and I would never think about that question because I know it would like trigger a lot of like pain. But this time I genuinely thought, what if they were right? And I spent like weeks just reflecting on all the ways I could fail, because I know if I just eliminate the main ways I could fail, then I'll have no choice but to succeed. And obviously, you know, life isn't always as, you know, simple as that, but it did push me to take the first step, which is to always reflect on what I'm doing and to make sure I'm seeing the full picture. I'm not blindsided by like a fantasy, and I'm actually seeing things for what they are. So to like tie all this up, the reason I'm telling you all of this is because my friend said I would fail. And my takeaway and my response to that was, cool, look, you're probably right. Well, thanks for telling me. I'm going to reflect on that and make sure I don't. So thanks for the reminder. And that's kind of like my attitude towards a lot of things. And I genuinely like, I'm not like, you know, cut about the entire situation. The reason I'm just recording this is because it may be a valuable lesson for you. Like if you have people in your life, you know, just being very negative, like don't be like overly dismissive. Think like, okay, how can I use this in a way that's useful for me? Because at the end of the day, the only thing you can control is not like other people's beliefs or what they care about, but the only thing you can control is your own beliefs. So that's the key takeaway that I got from this experience, and I hope that helps you on your journey as well. So thanks for listening.